Ago.
This is the Honors series for the Heritage Month, and we're talking places and people of historical significance. Today we're focusing on the central region, and don't forget, the Heritage Caravan drives across 13 regions. In the central region, one of the key places you would pass through is Saltpond. So today Kwekuda Kwanka will give us the signals of Saltpond. But what is interesting, we will talk about Saltpond, and then if we're driving towards Cape Coast, there are about 6 towns you get through to Yamoransa before you get to Cape Coast proper. He will give us the significance of Saltpond in the context of that whole area. Kweku, thanks for joining us.
Thank you too.
It's good to have you. So Saltpond, if somebody were a stranger and just landed in the Gold Coast, they would have thought Saltpond was the capital because there are so many important things that happen in Saltpond. How did Saltpond become so significant in Ghana's history?
So commercially and politically. So when the Anomabo township was invaded by the Ashanti, the harbour, the businesses went down. Most of Anomabo people fled to Cape Coast and built the Cape Coast, become what it is. The intellectual forces from there all left. And then some also found themselves in Saltpond. But because Saltpond has deep waters, it became a place where a lot of shipment took place. So if you go back to historical geography of Ghana, that's K.B. Dixon's work, Kwame B. Dixon's work, you see the changing indexes in terms of volume of trade, moving all the way from Anomabo and Saltpond, emerging as the next commercial center. So that's how you see it alongside Cape Coast. Before later, everything came to Accra because of the capital being moved from Cape Coast to Accra.
So Anomabo, prior to that war, was the center of intellectual power in the
commercial power.
Anomabo.
That was Anomabo. So that was what was then. Then politically, when in the right to our nationalist or independence agenda, Saltpond became the place for foundation of UGCC, United Gold Coast Convention, in 4th August 1948. So around that time, 47 rather, when they went there for the formation, a very rich merchant called Abion gave his lodge or a house called Canaan Lodge, and that is where they met all the power players in the Gold Coast politics then, and then they founded the place. Abion grandson, until recently he passed, was the oldest and Fante who was living. If you ever see some pictures about him,
Abion
the son is also a professor.
Wow.
One of his brother, the one that his brother also died recently, Horatio Mens, who was in Nungwa. So those important mercantile family provided that burden in Saltpond. And also, Nkrumah, also when he was founding the CPP, also sent it in 1949, was also founded in Saltpond. So Saltpond has been described as the political mecca of Ghana.
You described the topography of the place and said it suited the ships bringing their wares because it had a better natural port. And it's also on the eastern part from Anomabo, where Cape Coast is on the western part. But the people from Saltpond...
No, both are on the western side part. It's Mankesim, which is
sorry,
on the,
Mankesim. So sorry. Let's just, if you are from Mankesim, do you get to Saltpond?
You get to Saltpond, then you go to Kromante, Abanze, Eja, Anomabo, Birua, then you go to Akatechia, then Yamoransa. From Yamoransa, you go to Mori. From Mori to Amasama, then you go to Cape Coast.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So Anomabo is in the center. The intellectuals moved to the west to Cape Coast.
Yeah.
And then the business community moved to the east to Saltpond.
Yes.
So Anomabo is in between Saltpond and Cape Coast. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
So it's almost like they benefited, both Cape Coast and Saltpond benefited from Anomabo's decline.
Yeah, a lot.
That's what I'm trying to say. So that's what, okay. Now, people from Saltpond, they call themselves by a certain interesting name. They say they are Achimfo. What does that mean?
So, you know the Fante communities, most of them have their Fante names and their European names. So Apam they are called Apa, Simpa, Winneba, okay, Ogwa, Cape Coast. You see, how do you call Drama, Manford. So these are the Mori. You see that Aketechi, Commander.
Wow.
Edna, Elmina, Sekune, Sekendi.
So the real names are the first ones you are mentioning.
Yes, so
the second ones are the anglicized versions.
And the anglicized versions. So that is how the Fante communities are. So Saltpond they are Achemfo.
How did Achemfo become Saltpond?
Yes, because it is a salt pond because in Chen is salt in Fante.
Oh, in Chen, salt.
So in Chenefo, people who mine salt, that was the job that was doing there. So,
okay.
So a little bit of history is that the Saltpond is part of Nkosukum traditional area, and their headquarters is in Yamransa. So when the Fantes were coming from Techiman, the Nkosukum people were the people who formed the rage. They were in between, so they called it Odemia, the rage. They formed the rage, and they came to the with the Fantes and settled first at the magazine. Their leader was called Openyin Nkusu. So his people then became Nkusukum. And when they were at Saltpond, some of them moving magazine, some of them started moving out. One of them moved to a place called Kuntu. Okay, the another one went to Anochem. And then one of them also went to find a town called Nankasado because someone killed a very big elephant and people used to go there and go and have the meat. So where the big meat is at, Nankasado. So the leader of the Nkusukum group was called Kowokum Ko, who killed buffalo. So this guy moved with his people through Saltpond, and then through when he reached Kwamate, the Njedum people were there. Passed through Abanze, people from all corners of the world who have settled below the Fort Amsterdam at the top there, Kwamate, and they have become a town of their own. So they are amalgamation of people. Then they moved to Eja, which is also Aboriginal Eti community, and then Anomabo, where the mixture of Fante and Aboriginal Eti were. So all these people were already occupied. So then he moved to Bidua. It's Bidua they lived the old lady who says he was too tired to move. So Abirwa or Bidua, where the people go and fetch their charcoal and other things, become a town. And that is the town of famous, one of the Ghanaian musicians, Sir Ali Baba Foster. It is also the hometown of Isankoma. So from there, he moved all the way to Aketechua. So when Kokumko reached Yamransa and saw a vast land, he decided to thank the deities. And he poured European drink, which is called Mbrosa. So it's the place where Okumko poured the European drink, become Yamransa. That is where you buy your wonderful kenke. Kenke in all forms. The one that Francisco when you eat, you will always want to go back when you are driving on that highway. So that is the town.
Wow.
Now, how did Saltpond came about? It's an interesting history. So Saltpond was founded by a guy called Entiru Kwesi.
Okay.
Entiru Kwesi was a crab trapper from Nankasado. So he crossed the river Atofa, the lagoon Atofa. That is the lagoon in Saltpond. But in the area, the land in fact became Bakado. The Bakado area. So when you go there, the Bakado is there, and then the lower town, which he founded, the upper town and Kasolo, and the lower town become Ekwada. So you have these two towns out of those communities. However, for some time when other people came in, Enti Kwesi went back to his hometown, and then the chieftaincy system reverted to the Abora clan member who was in the community. So that is how Saltpond came. And this town, because of the trade, got a lot of people from the neighboring community and a lot of group also coming from the interior, all settled within the community. So the Entils people become with anglicized Enchil. That's why you see the Benti Enchils coming from that community, okay, in that Saltpond. So Saltpond then become an avenue for producing the intellectual forces. And they were not people who were engaged in fishing. So their appellation is Achemfo Brefia Achemfo. What them plan also one couple. Wanted to be unko come and take it in Kamfuna. So the Kamfuna is the shad, the smallest fish when you are just close to the beach. You can use net.
Can you repeat that? Achemfo.
So when you are there, you just use it. Achemfo brefi achemfo. Wadampa no so one couple. Wanted to kubenko kwamante nka jinkamfo na mpezi. You can translate it today.
Achemfo, the bulrush basket Achemfo, though they live near the sea, they do not fish. They take over to Kromante to go and exchange for wetless fish.
To come and eat. So that is what they will do. So that is how the Fante saw them. Okay, so
but why don't they fish? Why don't they like fishing?
Because they were crab trappers and they were farmers. They also prefer the salt mining, which gives them a sort of a local economy that they depended upon. Secondly, they have a very deep sea, so the place became a natural harbor. So if you mess up with the waves there, you will get drowned. And they know better because they are smart people. And they were a group of fearless people. For a very long time within the Fante community, across that corridor, they were one of the last people to get police station. Because whenever you decide to build a police station, they will break it down. So they call themselves Mifiachemfu, means no police. Wow. That's why Professor P.A.V. answer, whenever you write his article, you keep on repeating it, that he is fearless because he is somebody who comes from a town who you see police and he will still be standing there.
So why is the straw basket the symbol of Saltpond?
Because brefi, that is the brefi you mentioned, achemfo, brefi, achemfo.
Okay.
So the brush or the straw basket is what you use to, when you see crabs, you realize that they use something to tie them and they put it in that basket. So that basket that contains that whole lot of them become brefi. Okay, brefi also means storm blazer, someone who has suffered to overcome something. So in Fante language, they can say, "What's brefi in the brow?" It means they are bringing you something valuable because it is used to carry a very important things. And for them living in that community, because they don't go to sea, crab was very important for them to, rely, or they have to move to Kwamante, which is a major fishing community, to go and find their fish.
This is the Heritage Month, and we are talking Central Region now, and we're discussing Saltpond as an entry point into some of the communities around the coast. My guest, we could Akankra. Kwamante is it sounds like an important town.
Very, very.
I think Asabi comes from that area, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, and then you have the Mlekuduka also comes from there.
I see. Who's also minister. So in the drive from Saltpond towards Cape Coast, the first major town I meet is Kwamante.
Yes, Kwamante.
What does it mean and what is its significance?
So it means Kwame did not hear. So the Kwame was one of the first Fantes, but the Kwamante themselves, they were in Jedum, who were also Aboriginal people. They were there. So when the Nana Kwame and his people were moving from Mankesimu to Aketechi, which is Commander, his junior brother, we have Kwame Penyin and Kwame Kakra, or Kuma. So he left his brother at Kwamante, the Injedum people. So when he went and he reached Aketechua, he returned back and told his brother that he should come so that they move and find a new place to settle. He did not listen. And then Dentra, another account people, there was a skirmishes and his brother was killed. So he said, Kwame Ante. His brother Kwame did not listen. So the place became Kwamante.
And that's Infantiman?
That is part of Infantiman.
I see.
And it was also one of the important area. One of the first forts was also built there. So the fort that was built there was built by the by the English. But the French, when there was a war between the Dutch, because there was a turf war between the Dutch and then the British. So during that war, the Dutch defeated the English and then they took over their fort and they renamed it Fort Amsterdam as it is there.
That was an original name.
Very good. And then the Dutch also, their fort at Anomabo was also taken over by the English. That's the Fort Charles, which later became rebuilt to become Fort Williams at Anomabo. So you see the exchange. You take my own here, I also take yours from other places. So that is the a little bit of history from Citi.
From Citi, you go to a place called Abanze.
Yeah, so Abanze, because of the fort, there was a lot of business around that community. So people from all walks of life, various Fantes, including Asantes and other accounts, came there as traders, and they decided to trade below where the fort is, and then they become Abanze, meaning people who are living down the Fante Aze. Why people will say Kumasi? If it were to be Fante, it will become Kumazi.
Thing. Kumazi.
So Aze means Ase.
Okay.
So that's why you have Takrazi. Takrazi means Takra trees under.
Okay.
Where the Takra tree is.
Okay.
But if it were to be Asante,
so Takra is not Takrade, it's Takrazi.
Takrazi. So the anglicization is Takradi. Tadi. You see, if it were to be a country, it will be Takrasi. But Fantis will say Takradi.
Okay.
So Abanze, if it was also be in Asante, it would have been Abanse. Abanase. So this is Abanze. People below the fort. Fort in Akan means Aban.
Okay.
So the people who are living there are people who live below the Aban.
So are there any serious forts in Abanze?
Yes. So they are the people who are now living directly under the fort, and they have become a town with their own chief. Those amalgamated group of people. Okay. But the land itself there is owned by the chief of Oti, who is also an Aboriginal Eti. The land itself. So back in the day, when they go to sea and water, the chief of Oti will come and take his share
of the
from
fish.
all the, yes, that proof is Otochoni over the land.
Wow.
That is Aboriginality over the land. So those were the people. So you hear CK man used to say, Komantina Abanze, what can I say? Abre Womisu. So you see there's a lagoon that serves as a boundary between Abanze and Komanti. When you are driving, you just look on your left side and right side. You see there's a small lagoon. So the lagoon Komantis were there before the Abanzes came. But that ecosystem also provided fish, the fish needs for all the people in the both community. And they were claiming, all of them were claiming autochthony over that resources. And that led to their fight. So when they fight, when you ask them what caused two brethren from both sides to fight, they cannot even explain themselves. And it was about the resource scarce.
When you move from Abanze towards Anomabo, is there any town you pass through or you get straight on?
So you get to Eja, and the Eja is divided. Eja number 1, number 2, and number 3. Eja.
Meaning
so
what?
Eja is the place where when the Aboriginal Etis used to stay there. So this town, Eja, that is where people like Miles, the Miles Abedus, how do you call it? This Chief Justice, former Supreme Court Judge, C.F. Hefron Benjamin, that is where they come from. So the Hefrons, including Zimbabwe former president, what's the name? Mugabe's wife, Sally Hefron, that is their community. Eja there. So they produce a lot. Kuntu Blankson also come from the famous Gold Coaster. So that small town is part of Anomabo. It's part of Anomabo now. So when the Fantis were there, they left their people there, and then they moved to Onyinatazi, which developed to become the Anomabo town. So the people they left because they left them behind. So the people left behind.
Wow.
Okay, and then they move on to Anomabo.
Where Anomabo means what?
Where Anomabo means bed rock.
Anoma is bed, rock is stone.
So rock. So Anomabo, Ebo also means rock.
Yeah.
Stone can also be called Obo or Aboba.
Was there a stone on a rock or a rock on
so
a
when
you
go to Anomabo, try and get your people there, you will see the best of Pusuban, military sort of museums. There are about 7 of them. You won't find it every day. When you pass through Anomabo, you will see them. It is one of the things that attract tourists. We have one which is a shape. You have the whale, different types in the community. So Anomabo, when the person came from Eja and stayed at Onyinatazi under the Onyina tree, he saw a lot of seagulls moving, and then he followed the sound. And when he went at the back of where the Anomabo Fort William is standing, it's a big rock, and that all the seagulls were moving and perching on the bed on that rock. So he said Anomabo. Birds Rock.
And then
it became the attack.
From Anomabo, you get to Yamoransa.
You get to Biriwa.
Biriwa, which you've explained.
Yeah.
This
so
is in Sankume's
hometown. Then from Biriwa, you go to Aketechua, where the sister of the Aketechi people on their migration, okay, also leave people there until they reach. When Aketechi people are the commander people, so where they leave one of their old lady, and also the Nkusukum people that also founded Saltpond, Kuntu. The Saltpond have some towns under them. You have Eweya, where the lithium has been founded. It is also the village of CK Man. CK Man comes from AB Kentel comes from Eweya. And then you also have Abanko. Then from Abanko you go to Mpesidazi, all under the Saltpond enclaves there.
What does Yamoransa mean?
So Yamoransa, as I said, when Kowokumuko was moving to find his town, Saltpond is part of the Nkusu group. So Kowokumuko moved and he was looking for more land. So you see that in Nkusukum traditional area, very funny. Skomanti is not part of Nkusukum. Abanze is not part of Nkusukum. Anomabo is not part of Nkusukum. Until you reach Biriwa, then you go to Yamoransa. So when he landed at Yamoransa, he decided to settle here. And as ancient people do, when he reached there, he looked for European whiskey and decided to propitiate the deities for bringing him safely after defeating the Aboriginal Etis there and pushing them away into Fante and other areas, into Ebu and other areas. He decided to stay there and then make there his capital. So he stayed there. So the act of praying with European drink, and European drink in Akan or Fante language is Mbransa. So Yelugu Mbransa becomes Yamoransa.
When you drive on Yamoransa, one of the routes to Kumasi, you use Yamoransa Junction. Is that the route that leads you to the Abora Dunkwa?
Yeah, that's
area?
The road that. So you pass through there, you see Akwanso, Kwabransa, all the way. Then you go to.
Are these Abora people Fantes?
The Abora people, they are also Fante. So the Fante consists of, now we will say about getting to age groups, but back in the day, you have the Anomabo. Anomabo is a whole group of their own. It has about 78 to 98 villages. That time you see.
Wow.
If you go, all the towns from Kobransa, Ebu, after Eshiro, after Asebu, all the way to Empiro, Yamfe Kwekrofu, all those areas belongs to Anomabo. It's Anomabo traditional area. Then you have so that is Anomabo on its own. Then you have Amanfo. The Amanfo are the Mankesim group. So the Mankesim town and its villages becomes the Amanfo, now known as Mankesim, because their leader was called Krentil Amanfo.
Yes.
So his people, Krentil's people, so they are called Amanfo. When you greet them, we meet anybody from Mankesim, you greet him Krentil Amanfo, and he will respond Amanfo Jado. That's their response. And then when you go to other side is the Kumifi, which has also produced a lot of intellectual brains. Okay, so you have Professor Alote is from Nkusukum. The scientist is also from Nkusukum. As I've explained, Pava is also part of Nkusukum. Then you have Abiaza.
Isn't Professor Mills from Ekumifi?
He is from Ekumifi side. So these people are from Nkusukum. So you reach and his town is Otiam.
Yes,
okay,
Okufi
his town is Otiam. Maybe some other time we talk about history of Otiam. So what happened was that you have the Ekumifi. The Ekumifi all the way from Obidan moved all the way up to Otuam community, and their capital is called this Fante town. I remember. So they are there on that lane. So Ekumifi means the people who are more. They are so much. The people.
So there's Anomabo, there's Amanfo, there's Ekumfi.
Yes.
And then there's which other one?
You have Abora.
Abora.
Yeah, so the Abora people, as you know, from Abora Dunkwa all the way to Abakrampa, okay, and even to Brafaya, which is where Agri Memorial is. So all the people, including Amasma, all the people there from the Abora Asebu Kwamankasi, and their capital is the chief capital town of the Abora is Abakrampa. Okay, but
you know, we call it Abakrampa, but you are calling it Abakrampa.
yes, Abakrampa.
What does it mean?
It means where the vulture eat the palm fruit. So when they arrived there was a ripe palm fruit and the vultures were eating it. So the krampa is the appellation of vulture Kokosechi for the accounts. So they say the krampa was eating the abe, which is the palm fruit.
We are wrapping up. So Amanfo, Anomabo, Ekunfi, Abora, you mentioned a couple more. You said there were 7.
Yes, and then you have the
Gomua.
So the Gomua are the largest, the numerous. And that's why they call them a champion. They are so numerous that when you want to give them, you have to share it in thousands. And as you know, we have so much Gomua. People even love that you have Gomua Pakistan, Gomua Dahomey, okay, Gomua Brofu, yes, which is Gomua Injurency. So Gomua Dahomey, come and sleep and relax. People have fantasized to Dahomey. It's Dahomey. You see, and so there are various. Wow. There too, they are there. And then we have the Aguna group who also moved from Ashanti, who have become parts of the Aguna Swedro, who have also intermingled. Then we have Abinasi Dominancy groups too, up to Kwamankesi, who are also there. So you see, and then we have the Enyan people, the Enyan group. I did not mention that one. So the Enyan people were wakers. They say when they were coming, their leader had a deity or a fetish, which was a cock. So whenever the cock, you know, they sleep early. And so when it is around 5 o'clock, they have to relax and sleep. And then early in the morning, as soon as he crow, they move. So that's why they call Enyan the wakers. So among the Fante group, they are notorious for waking up very early.
Yes, I work with one, Samis.
They wake up
wakes up
very
very
early. That's the attitude.
Enyan Dejra. Amazing stuff. We'll leave it here. This is really interesting. So the Central Regional Conversation has taken us on a route from Saltpond to Yamoransa, but has filled in the potholes as well. It's almost an annotated history of parts of the Central region on this episode of the Heritage Month on Air series. Stay with us. We'll give you another edition next time. Bye-bye.
Ago.